Why is impersonation such a big problem for credit unions, Chris?
It's a big problem, obviously, Sebastian. There's multiple reasons. Financial institutions have always been the target of threat actors. These threat actors are constantly doing reconnaissance against organizations. So
Uh-huh.
they're replicating the organization's logo, colors, messaging, even the way they present to their members. So that's very easy for members to not realize that this is a fake portal or this is a fake
Uh-huh.
email or site that I need to respond to. They will just log into these portals or respond to an email requesting certain
Uh-huh.
information and not recognize it because of how professionally done these
Yeah.
sites and portals and information are done. And then impersonation campaigns, they're warp speed, right? No
Uh-huh.
human being can really detect these. There's hundreds of these fake domains or accounts registered or developed in within minutes to hours.
Yeah.
Members don't realize that these are scams, so
Uh-huh.
they think they're conducting business securely with their credit union, but in most instances, you know, um, they're not because credit unions don't have teams dedicated to monitoring their brand, their domain.
Uh-huh.
They don't have a continuous eye on everything beyond their security perimeter, which means that
Uh-huh.
these threats remain out there longer. And the longer that
Yeah.
these threats and campaigns are there, the increased likelihood that their members will be compromised, which will
Uh-huh.
put credit unions on the back foot in terms of developing their business, growing their business,
Uh-huh.
and expanding their membership base and client base.
Yeah.
So you need to
Uh-huh.
be monitoring on a continuous 24/7 basis related to fake domains and any kind of clone to social media accounts and executive
Uh-huh.
impersonations. You need to have those capabilities. You need to have them from a technology AI perspective because that's the only thing that can keep up with them. And then you
Uh-huh.
need to be able to remediate and remove them. It doesn't do you any good to identify threats against you or your membership base and not be
Yeah.
able to remediate them in quick order.
Why are data leaks and stolen credentials such a big deal for credit unions?
Well, because of the amount of information that credit unions are entrusted to keep protected and
Uh-huh.
financial data. So you're looking at names, you're looking at social security numbers, you're looking at
Uh-huh.
login credentials. When that information becomes leaked, it's actually a tool for these threat actors to
Uh-huh.
leverage. This information can come from multiple sources, your vendors, your a phishing campaign, anything any systems that you have that have been misconfigured. These stolen credentials can be used to manipulate people to basically log into fake portals that will ask you for financial information, for loans, anything like that.
Uh-huh.
So this information is used to be in the dark web to be monetized, sold within the dark web for specific campaigns
Uh-huh.
that will be used against you or your organization. If you have thousands of customers and internal emails and so forth, you're a target and you don't have visibility into that information being leaked, then
Uh-huh.
you're reacting, you're not being proactive. So you need to have a very proactive stance. This is very
Uh-huh.
costly, time consuming, and damaging.
Uh-huh.
If you do
Uh-huh.
not have a proactive, continuous monitoring of this type of information on the dark web, you need to take action. If you know that information has been compromised and resides on the dark web, you can notify your users, you can change passwords, you can patch vulnerabilities, things like that to proactively stop an event from occurring against you and your organization, as opposed to reacting after the fact.
Credit unions have, websites and social medias and different assets,
Mhm.
digital assets that they use, to connect with their members or just to talk about them, share information and all that. So why is it so important to be aware of all your digital assets?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, we're in a digital world now. Credit unions, they enable their business through their websites, their apps, their portals, any cloud and tools that they have to connect to their clients beyond their security perimeter. And these are the most vulnerable assets because they're not
Uh-huh.
always being monitored. They could have subdomains or servers or misconfigured cloud buckets, right? All this information, all these assets may have been forgotten, right? They're not sure that these external assets even exist, right?
Uh-huh.
It's an open port for them to conduct business against you and basically compromise you and your
Uh-huh.
business. As these digital tools continue to connect us with the companies that we work with,
Uh-huh.
As consumers can't, it's hard to keep up with the sprawl of all this technology and what's beyond your
Yeah,
firewall. You also have
exactly.
vendors, right? And marketing teams setting up different links. All this stuff can
Mm,
be compromised.
I see.
So again, if you
Uh-huh.
don't have visibility into these external assets, discover and map every one of them, your domain, your app, your cloud, your cloud bucket, your organization is open to risk by cyber criminals.
One of the things you mentioned was the vendors. Credit unions rely on a lot of vendors.
Uh-huh.
Why is it so difficult for credit unions to manage or to deal with these third parties?
Well, again, they don't have, they rely on them, right? They use them for payments, they use them for lending, CRM, IT support, marketing, and so forth. So this enables vendors to have direct access into your systems. And that
Yeah.
also enables cyber criminals and threat actors to be able to get into your systems and compromise you. What
Uh-huh.
happens is that as your vendor's ecosystem, right, or your vendor partners increase, right, and on average, credit unions have dozens and dozens of vendors that they work with. They may
Uh-huh.
have not done the due diligence that they needed to do, or they've only done it once, and it's not consistent in terms of it may reside in a spreadsheet or an email response. So by the
Uh-huh.
time a lot of this is checked or rechecked, it might be too late. So
Okay.
you don't, you're basically not able to catch things in real time. And
Uh-huh.
from a regulatory and compliance standpoint, you don't have an active live system in terms of monitoring your vendors. Just checking in with them periodically or sending them a spreadsheet to
Yeah.
complete is not the way that you can keep yourself protected against cyber criminals. So you need to have an automated monitoring component to this where you're constantly in real time looking at third party exposures and scoring the vendor based on their current risk profile, right?
Mm.
And look at, is there any leaked credentials related to them, exposed assets? Is their brand been misused? Any misconfigurations? This way, you really have a set understanding of your vendors and what the expectations are. You need to set
Uh-huh.
the bar for them so they have a high standard. So as you work together, none of your sensitive information could be compromised through their lack of control and system controls and security controls.
The other important thing is that credit unions don't have staff or much time to be dealing with the third parties or with all these assessments and just
Yep.
making sure that they are following the regulations and just doing what they have to do to be protected.
Systems that they have in place are old. They're legacy systems,
Exactly.
and incidences are happen faster than humans can detect. So you need a
Uh-huh.
system in place to do that. And regulators don't want to hear that,
Yeah,
that you don't have systems in place. You will be held accountable. And so it has to
exactly.
be, you have to implement something that is not only currently monitoring your current vendors, but is scalable in terms of identifying red flags with those vendors and any new vendors and partners you bring on. And, make sure that you have a continuous security assessment of these vendors and make sure that they're doing what they can to, solidify their business practices with you.
What does a fake online banking site look like? And why do people still fall for it?
Well, because they look real. I mean, you and I in our busy
That's the
lives,
truth, yeah.
I mean, they look real, right? The login page, the logo, the layout, the fonts, the way the text is laid out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
even the
But it
security
just
icon
feels
is.
that it's kind of like old, like an old strategy. I mean, that is how I feel it, but I'm surprised that people still fall for it.
Well, most people don't look, right? Some people have a keener sense of details, but some people don't look at the browser or look at the URL and see that maybe it's a fake domain. So,
Yeah,
like we said, people are in a rush. Hey, what's my bank account? I got to pay this bill. Look, I got
hmm
this alert on my mobile app. And they're not
yeah,
looking at it that closely. They're not looking at if the
that's true.
URLs were spoofed. And
hmm
they don't really realize what they're looking for, or they're not looking for it. They just assumed it's based on the business that they've been doing with this organization.
Yeah,
They consider it safe, and
hmm
attackers just move fast. They'll register a
yeah.
domain, they'll bring it up, they'll leverage it, and they potentially could reuse it or register a new domain. So they're constantly launching new sites and stealing logins as quickly as they possibly can before anybody even realizes what's going on.
How does social media impersonation actually work, and why it is so dangerous for them?
Well, I mean, the thing about that is it's mimicking profiles, right? Or it's providing, information that could steer members and individuals to fake fake sites and
Uh-huh.
fake giveaways, and that will
Uh-huh.
require you to collect login information or credit card information and personal information. So when people see things on Facebook or Instagram, they see someone directing them in some way, some type of impersonation, and they're redirecting them to another site based on content that looks real. And this is,
Uh-huh.
why you should do it. You're going to win this or do that, or we're offering this promotion. It's a very easy to just say, hey, this looks like my bank, my credit union.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
This content looks real. Let me log into
Yeah.
this. Let me respond to this. Oh, it needs my credentials. Oh, yeah, I got a credit card or personal information. So again, it's one of those things where when you're this stuff is posted on or Facebook, Instagram, or X, you kind of take it at face value and you're like, okay, you don't expect to be scammed on those platforms, right? People tend to trust a direct message as opposed to any kind of phishing or email kind of campaign. And these scams are just, they're easy to post. They're easy. They can influence people quickly, and then you're compromised. So
Yeah.
again, there's a lot of copycat profiles of name, logo,
Uh-huh.
content out there. You need to
Yeah.
monitor your brand to make sure that that information has not been used in nefarious ways on social media platforms to direct you in an area where you've
Uh-huh.
given your financial information, your login information to cyber criminals. You need to take those sites down immediately. So you
Yeah.
need to that's another critical point. You need to do it from an automation standpoint and view it as a criticality in terms of the scoring of that, and taking that
Uh-huh.
down as quickly as possible is paramount.
Yeah.
And that's why you need an automation, AI driven security solution like Styx Intelligence. It
Uh-huh.
unifies, it has
Exactly.
a direct, it's unifying across all these elements to give you
Uh-huh.
the
Uh-huh.
security you need and the protection you need. I was just going to say that again, there's a lack of understanding. These digital environments are constantly expanding, right? People don't understand, their
Uh-huh.
organizations don't understand their digital footprint. They've got all these different domains, subdomains, vendors that are connected to
Uh-huh.
them, these social media accounts, the third-party
Uh-huh.
application cloud services. So it's almost impossible on a human level to manually monitor that type of information, right? So,
Uh-huh.
especially with credit unions and smaller institutions, they just don't have the tools. The systems that are in place are legacy. They're mostly for the security perimeter and internal. And as
Yeah.
they continue to grow their connection with their clients and their vendors from a digital standpoint, these systems are just not in place. There's no tracking in place. And if there is, there are point solutions. So there's a lack of visibility across the spectrum of the brand, the third party, any type of impersonations of executives or your team. There's a lack of continuity around that. So, it's going to get worse every day. The digital attack surface continues to expand with each new partner you bring on board, or each new product launch you announce, or
Uh-huh.
things of that nature, or anything to your portal, any updates to your portal. And these threats are blind spots, right? They're blind spots for attackers to exploit. And the other point is when you do hear about this, it's generally in a reactive mode. And then if you're presenting to your leadership, you've got a problem, because leadership is making decisions reactively, but you really need to present a proactive plan, a proactive solution that leverages our solution like Styx Intelligence, a unified AI-driven platform that can provide you information on a proactive basis, so you're constantly mitigating those risks and making sure that leadership is fully informed in how you're doing that. That's important. So you need to map all your known and unknown assets that are tied to your organization. As we said, you need to have tools that are constantly monitoring and detecting
Uh-huh.
and removing any type of threats. And third party vendors, the most dangerous, must be monitored uh, on an ongoing basis, just like any other internal assets that you may be working with. That's the only way you're going to be able to overcome any gaps in knowledge, any gaps in resources, and so forth. So I
Beautiful.
think we're in a
Perfect.
great spot to really help a lot of organizations, and
Yeah.
plus they get to work with you, which is awesome.